Well, welcome back to our latest edition of Fireside Chats. It's Pastor Dave from St. John in Woodbury, and hopefully the end of February and the beginning of March as we get into kind of this new season, prepping to head into spring and maybe even into summer, pretty soon. So hopefully it's going well for you. And today and throughout this week, we're going to focus on a parable. And it's the parable from Matthew chapter 13, verses 44 to 46. It's actually two parables. It's the parable of the hidden treasure and the pearl of great price. And so I want to read this for us today. So again, this is Matthew chapter 14. It says, "The kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in a field. When a man found it, he did it again. He hid it again. And then in his joy went and sold all he had and bought the field. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant looking for fine pearls. When he found one of great value, he went away and sold everything he had and bought it." So again, a reminder when we talk about these parables, these are simple, straightforward teachings using everyday life where Jesus is teaching some aspect of the kingdom of God. And here again, the stories are pretty straightforward. So again, the first story, the first parable, it's about a guy who finds a treasure. He's just walking along, finds a treasure, and then understands in order to have rightful access to this treasure, he needs to buy the field where it's located. So he hides it again, sells everything he has just to get access to the field, to get access to the treasure. And likewise with the merchant looking for pearls, and all of a sudden he finds the one. And then again, he sells everything else he has in order to get that one thing. And so when we look at these two parables, which are really getting at the same question, is what is most important to us? For all of us, we have something that is preeminent, that when we dig deep enough in our lives, we would say above all things in our life, of everything that we have, of all of our relationships, of all that exists in our life, what is the one thing above all things that is most important? And so what Jesus is getting at here is we all have that. The question is that thing that we want the most, that we treasure the most, that we value the most, the thing that is most preeminent, most supreme above all other things, is that the thing that should be in that position? Because again, with all of these parables, it's getting at the kingdom of God. And so for these two teachings, these two stories, that treasure in the field, that pearl of great price, that is life in the kingdom of God. And so the question we ask ourselves is the kingdom of God preeminent in our lives? It is the most important. Is being in that rightful relationship with God, walking with Him day by day, step by step, living out our faith, is that the most important part of our lives? And you might be wondering, well, how do I know if this is the most important thing? And the answer is pretty simple. Are you willing to give up everything for this one thing? I always tell people there's really, in our world today, two ways to take a look at what is most important to us. What is most preeminent? What is the most valuable to us? And the answer is take a look at our calendar and take a look at our bank accounts, because where we spend our money and where we spend our time, that will show us what is most important. So are we spending our time in relationship with God? When there's schedule conflicts between something connected with Christ, something connected with our faith, something connected with growing our faith, being connected with the people of God, do we value that above everything else? And again, when there's a conflict with how we use our resources, do we use our resources for stuff connected to Christ and His kingdom? Or do we say, that can take a back seat? Again, Jesus comes to us and says, what's most important? What's most valuable? And the thing is, when Christ and His kingdom is the most valuable thing we have, then we will do anything and everything to have that in our lives. And so that's my encouragement to you today and throughout this week, is to reflect on that. What is most important to me? What is most valuable to me? Where am I spending my time? Where am I spending my money? Where am I spending my energy? and when it's the kingdom of God, then again, we have what is truly important. And here's the crazy thing is, the ironic thing is that when we prioritize our faith and the kingdom of God above all other things, then everything else kind of finds its spot in our lives. And this is why Jesus tells us, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these other things, okay, our time and resources, all these things will then be added to us as well. That is, they'll find their right spot in our lives. So again, I encourage you this week, reflect what is most important. And am I seeking the kingdom of God above all other things? Or are there some things I need to reorganize in my life? But God bless today and this week as you reflect on these great parables.